Hello, I'm Blade BowQuest. What's going on, Black Desert Adventurers? I hope your first week in Xbox was awesome. I definitely had a lot of fun. It was so cool. I was over at twitch.tv/Blade BowQuest. That's my live stream channel for 100 hours and 30 minutes this week. A lot of you guys stopped by. I got to answer all your questions live. So thanks for supporting the channels, both of them, and for watching everything. We're going to unravel the mysteries behind armor types. It's pretty confusing because a lot of them are very good. And just going over the pre-Medai things mostly. I will touch on what's going to be released in the future, but we're going to be talking about Talos, Taratis, Xerath, Geryon, Luck, Hercules, Heave sets. These are the things that are in the game right now. So I'm going to go over what is the common different ways to break up the sets per class, and that way you guys can weigh it out. And then, at least when it comes to the armor mysteries, we're going to hit the accessories and the weapons in another video. When it comes to armor types, you can just say, you got that on lockdown, and you put a pin in it. Sorry, I got these at TwitchCon. I couldn't really think of another way to use them. I guess, well, there's wearing them, I guess. Alright, so we're here in the central market, and we're looking at armor types. And when I say armor, I don't actually just mean the armor slot. I'm talking about gloves, shoes, helmet, and armor. Anything that's not accessories and weapons right now. Basically, understand that there are a lot of different schools of thought, or a lot of different opinions, and when it comes to best in slot, there isn't one in the game right now. That'll be coming a little bit later, and I'll actually touch on in the video which way you'll want to go eventually, but what we're looking at right now is a whole bunch of different stuff, and as long as you don't take one of each piece of armor or something like that, you're gonna be okay. Most classes are gonna be using 3-piece Taratis and 1-piece Xerath armor set. If you mouse over these things or cursor over and hit X, you're going to be able to see the details on the left side right there. So the thing with Taratis is the 3-piece set bonus. All these armors are great because of the set bonuses. Each one has a different evasion, each one has a different damage reduction, things like that. But for the most part, you're gearing based off of set bonus. So the 20 accuracy is incredibly vital, especially in the early stages of the game. Down the road, when everybody has Tri, Tet, Pen, Zarkas, Beg's gloves, things that infuse a giant amount of accuracy into your gear. Things like 20 accuracy crystals in your gloves, and you can wear 2 of them. At that point, okay, 20 accuracy isn't as important, but right now in our state of the game, we are accuracy starved. So this is a fantastic way to go. It's just going to up your overall DPS, and it'll be noticeable, especially in PvP. So 3-piece Taratis. Now, which 3 pieces, right? Because there are 4 pieces, so how do you choose? So you want to go with the Taratis armor, you want to go with the Taratis helmet, you want to go with Taratis gloves. The reason for that is because it's going to free up your shoe slot for Xerath. You got a lot of different shoe things here. You got Geryon that has movement on it, you have Talos that has 2 movement on it, and you have Taratis shoes, which actually doesn't do anything, which is kind of funny. But you have Xerath. Now, Xerath is going to add 200 stamina. Now, this is a pretty big deal. Just the ones that come to mind off the top of my head are Sorceress, Warrior, Ranger. These 3 classes in particular, certainly all classes, but these 3 classes in particular are going to benefit a huge amount by having that extra stamina. So the Sork, every time it dodges, that's an iframe. That's an invincibility frame, or an instant that they aren't taking damage and they can't be CC'd. That is a stamina-based iframe. So as long as you have stamina, you can be invincible and firefly around your enemies. For Ranger, their defense is often how hard their shotgun hits, and their burst is a lot of times directly proportional to their stamina, as that's going to allow them to Q cancel with charging wind and evasive shot, and that's just going to prolong that. And certainly, Warrior definitely relies on stamina as well. So 3 years ago when I started in PC, I used 3-piece Taratis, and I used Xerath boots on my Warrior. And that was a great way to go. The downside of this particular set of armor, where 3-piece Taratis, Xerath boots, is that later down the road, a month in, 2 months in, when you start getting the best in slot boss gear, like for example, you get Beg's gloves, then you're going to use Beg's gloves, and then you're only going to have a 2-piece Taratis. So at that point, the 2-piece Taratis set would not be as good as if you had a different armor's 2-piece set, such as Heave, for example. So you can see, if you're looking at the Taratis 2-piece set, max mana, max willpower, It might be useful on a ninja, but I mean, that's a totally different game. We're not talking about that right now. And so Heave, the 2-piece set, would be 250 health. So certainly down the road, the 3-piece Taratis would be harder to replace in the sense that you get 1 piece of boss gear, your 2-piece set is just not as good as it could be. So that moves us on to our next commonly accepted set of armor. Now, Heave is fantastic. Heave is good from now until Ragnarok, right? I mean, it's good all the way through. So you got your 3-piece is going to give you 300 health. That's fantastic. The only problem with this in the early game is that this isn't increasing your DPS. It isn't increasing your sustain. It's just increasing how long it's going to take you to die. Now, right now, when talking about PvP, players don't have enough AP to really fight through your health potions. You got decent armor. If you have plus 15 armor, there's going to be maybe 5 or 6 people on the server that can out DPS your health potions. I don't know. It depends on where everybody has gotten on the AP brackets, obviously. But pretty much this health, this keeping you alive a little bit longer, isn't nearly as important in the early stages of the game as being able to increase your own burst and then being able to have extra accuracy to make sure your hits are hitting. And this obviously will increase your PvE speed, where health, I mean, that doesn't help you grind any faster, which means that doesn't help you get any more money. Either way, this is a very acceptable, good set. Typically, Heave is great for its 2-piece, right? So it's 2-piece set bonus, 250 health. Whenever Medaya releases, we're going to have a brand new armor type, which is called the Geryon Armor. And Geryon Armor is going to have a 2-piece set bonus of plus 5 AP, and then a 4-piece set bonus of plus 7 AP. So basically, people would go things like a Heave helmet, Heave gloves, Geryon armor or chest, and then Geryon shoes. So you'd have 2-piece, 250 health with 5 AP. That's really a fantastic way to go as well. Probably will not outshine the 20 accuracy, that 5 AP with extra health. Most likely your stamina accuracy will still outshine that until people start getting boss gear. Alright, so those are your 2 most accepted sets. Those are just great sets all around. And then also, if you're breaking up Heave, obviously you can't go with Geryon right now. You could just swap it out with something else, like a 2-piece Xerath, for example. You could throw Xerath boots on there and maybe a Xerath armor or something. So that way it would actually give you 400 stamina with your extra health if you were planning on actually enhancing and gearing Geryon whenever Medaya releases, and who knows how long that'll be. Actually, I do know, but I can't tell you. Anyway, so Talos Armor. This is pretty much a useless set of armor. It has lower DP and lower evasion than all the other sets. Its major thing is it helps you move faster, right? So you could actually keep a 4-piece set of Talos Armor and just have it in your inventory so you can move around, do your contribution quests, or get between grind spots faster. It has that as a utility function, but because it's low DP and evasion, what I'm talking about is at the plus 15 level. You can look at it. So you go and you look at the plus 15. We're at evasion 1549, damage reduction 16.2, and we're looking at 19 evasion plus 61, and then the damage reduction 15 plus 2. Now, if you guys are confused about what these parentheses numbers are, you should just consider them the same number, basically. At an earlier state of the game on PC, we never saw what were in the parentheses. We could only see everything else. So we could see the 19, we could see the 15, and there were hidden stats that were associated to these pieces of armor. They have then since exposed the hidden stats, and that is basically what it is. But evasion, just add them together, that's your evasion. Damage reduction, just add them together, that's your damage reduction. So that should hopefully shed some light on that, clarify that a little bit. Let's look at a Geryon. Okay, so a Geryon is a set that should not be discredited. It has its purpose, especially in the very beginning of the game. So the gloves are going to add 1 attack speed. The 3-piece Geryon set is going to add 3 attack speed, and then of course you can add crystals into your gear, which will give you another attack speed. Right now, all of the armor that we have, except for Heave, have 1 crystal slot. Actually, except for, I think, Hercules and Luck as well, but those aren't really relevant in what we're talking about here. So a Geryon's going to have at least 1 crystal slot in its gloves, so you would put your attack speed in there. And that would allow you to have 4 attack speed. Now, 4 attack speed is pretty useful, and depending on if you have any other kind of buffs or something like that, you might be able to cap out your 5 attack speed. When you're grinding, if you're just doing straight PvE grinding all the time, you don't care about contesting your areas. I don't know, maybe you're focusing on something like an Elsh weapon that has extremely high accuracy. Maybe you already have a Laverto. A Geryon for attack speed would not be a wrong way to go, right? That would, if you see someone with a Geryon, it's not that they did something wrong. They didn't make a mistake. Remember, there's no best in slot yet. There's just a whole bunch of different advantages and ways to play. So having attack speed is fantastic. You know, you're going to be able to DPS better. You're going to be able to grind faster. So you could go that route. All in all, though, the 20 accuracy literally, or generally, I should say, generally helps you kill much faster. If your AP is so high that you just simply don't need the 20 accuracy to pretty much one combo these NPCs, whatever you're grinding, Calpheon Shrine, things like that, then maybe you could opt for attack speed at that point. But that's just personal preference. So that goes over the 4 major armor types that we have here. Now take a look. What's going on with all these? What is the Iron Wall? What is agility? What is intimidation? So each one of these blue level pieces of gear have a different type of stats. You can see melee damage reduction +2. Agility, you have range damage reduction +2. Intimidation, you have magic damage reduction +2. So that is a standard DR, right? That's just your DR stat on your piece of armor. If you're fighting magic types, you're fighting basically wizards or witches, that's going to reduce that by 2. You know, your range reduction, there's your ranger, and then you've got your melee damage reduction, berserkers, warriors, and sorcerers actually, I believe, is melee damage. Anyway, so what you do here with these blue pieces of armor is that you actually need reform stones, and this gets into crafting and a whole bunch of different things like that. But basically what you need to understand for armor types is that you can take any piece of green armor outside probably Dobart, which is like handout stuff, and outside of weird quest items that I don't have anyway, and you can take it and you can turn it into these blue things, and it's basically random. So through the process of gathering alchemy and workshops, you can create armor reform stones. There might be, I bet there's a couple that have been sold, so they're in the upgrade section. There they are. Okay, so if you take a grade 1 reform stone, there's only a weapon green on the market, but you can get green grade 1 weapons or armor. You can get blue grade 2 weapons or armor, and currently we don't have grade 3 in the game, and currently we don't have an ultimate in the game. So let me explain what all these do. And just wait for like a workshop guide, or obviously just look through the game workshop so you can figure out how to make these yourself. But basically what you're going to need to do is take these grade 1 reform stones and apply it to your piece of armor, and you can do that in the Black Spirit menu here. It used to be a pretty big ordeal where you had to set it up and put your piece of armor through workshops, and let me tell you, that was so tedious. It's a lot easier now. So we got this Taratus helmet, right? So we put that in there, and then if I had a reform stone, I would put it in there. So basically here's how it works. There are those 3 different types of blue armor that I showed you: the intimidation, the agility, and the iron wall. And there's going to be the added 2 DP or DR, damage reduction. DP is defense points. DP means it could be either evasion or DR. So there are 2 different types of DP. We're talking about specifically, it adds DR, right? Damage reduction, which basically lowers the amount of health reduction whenever you get attacked, where evasion gives you a chance of not being attacked. So that's how that works. All right, so I have a green grade 1 armor reform stone, and I put it in there. Guess what? It's RNG. Yeah, that's right. So maybe it becomes blue, maybe it stays green, we don't know. And then it has a chance of becoming ultimate. Now ultimate is great because it adds 5 damage reduction. I think it's just across the board. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at it in years, but I'm pretty sure. Either way, the ultimate is the way you want to go, and you do have a chance of getting ultimate using grade 1 reform stones. You have a better chance of getting it using the blue grade 2 reform stones. You have an even higher chance of using the grade 3 armor reform stones, but even so, even on the grade 3 that we don't have in the game, you're probably going to need to try this like 10 times. And then later on, the ultimate reform stones are basically, even on PC to this day, anywhere from 5 to 8 million, and then that guarantees that it becomes a gold piece of armor or an ultimate piece of armor. So this is going to be a long process getting your armor upgraded. And again, at blue it's only 2 DR and ultimate is 5. You definitely want to eventually have that, but you don't really need it within the first couple months of the game. Just make sure you get your right sets and make sure you get enhancing, and this guide is not going to be covering enhancing. Alright, so a couple honorable mentions here. You have your luck armor. Luck is just gonna, just add luck to your whole overall effects. Adds movement speed. That's always nice and convenient. So if you go into your profile menu, you can see how much luck. Alright, so I'm at 4 luck. Now, luck is just supposed to increase the chance of getting decent drops, basically. We don't really have any great studies, even after years of playing this game, with, how much more money you're going to get with 5 luck versus 0 luck. We don't know. We don't know all the aspects that it applies. And ultimately, when it comes to luck on your armor, it's a little bit of tinfoil, it's a little bit of personal preference. If you'd rather go with that, and you're just farming ogre rings, and you're like, this is the only way for me to live, have a good time. But in general, I would say just you can ignore that. So you have these crystals that go into your armor, so just be aware that these do exist. So these are the attack speed crystals I was telling you about. So you want to put these in your armor, and there's a whole bunch of different ones here. Let's see, if we look at the helmet, the agility is quite good. Vision is interesting. It actually increases how far you can see things. It's like a rendering distance. You can get some stat defenses if you'd rather do that, and then you have your casting speed for different classes. So one thing to note, Wizard, Witch, and Sorceress all work off cast speed, while Warrior, Berserker, and Ranger all work off of attack speed. So if you didn't understand the differences, now you do. That's pretty important to understand. And then, you can add health to your armor, you can add all different fun things. Health recovery is a very minor stat. Just entirely ignore that. But what I wanted to show you here is the versatile crystals of perfection. So rather than go through and have luck armor, you can actually put luck crystals into your armor if you'd rather go that route. You can buy them for 300k in the market, or you can literally buy them from a jeweler right here at Calpheon. So just going down this little path over to the left, there's a jeweler that will sell these luck crystals, and they'll sell them for 250k. So that's where you can get these luck crystals if you're interested in that. All right, I want to touch on some other things that are going to happen with the expansion of the game. So, and yes, I still have a default character. Anyway, been busy. So let's talk about boss gear. So I'm not exactly sure when boss gear is going to be coming out, but there's a couple things to be aware of. The first is whenever you're running your daily boss scrolls, as I talked about in my early tips guide before the servers even went up on Xbox, you will be getting these bundles. Beg reward bundle. Now you can open them and they'll have armor stones, and they'll have different things like hunter seals and some trash loot for you to sell. Or you could save them, because right now these boss bundles don't have boss gear in them. There isn't boss gear in the game. At a future time, whenever field bosses get introduced to the game, these bundles will start having boss gear in them, which means if you don't open them now and you open them after boss gear exists, you will have a chance of getting boss gear from the work that you have done previously. It's a very low chance of getting it, by the way. I know people on PC that had over 1,000 bundles and they got nothing. So up to you on how you want to do that, if you want to do it at all. So something else just to be aware of here. So you got your lore armor. No armor guide would be complete without this stuff. So the lore armor, you're going to get one piece from different areas that you go. So the Mancha Forest is going to have the helmet, the armors over at Treant, you got the gloves at Rudum, and you got the shoes at the Catfish or Lake Kaya. So this is a solid piece of armor if you're basically not going to enhance your gear past, like, I don't know, plus 9 or 10. It's solid. It's not great. It's not ideal, but it has a lot of everything. It has some attack speed. It has some movement speed, all that stuff, and it just has good damage reduction and evasion. And what's nice is this is going to get you a little bit over 100 DP just from grinding in these different areas, and you can just throw that on while you're getting your armor stones and weapon stones. So this is fine, but this is a very, very early set that would quickly be replaced, I would imagine, even with something like a plus 10 set of armor, which is very, very easy to do, even despite the fact that you don't see it on my account. But yeah, So that's something to be aware of, and accessories we're going to go over in another guide. So lastly, with actual boss gear pieces, so the best in slot that's going to be coming out relatively soon would be Beg's gloves, Muskin shoes, Dim Tree armor, and Gaiath helm. And then of course you have Red Nose as well. But the best in slots are the first 4 that I talked about. Beg's gloves are going to have accuracy built into the gloves. Now this is your quintessential most important piece of boss gear to get. Go get it. That thing is great. You definitely want to get that. Followed closely by Muskin shoes. So Muskin shoes are going to have evasion, added huge evasion as the enhancement levels go up. You wear Muskin shoes and people are going to have a lot of problems hitting you. Dim Tree is nice just because Dim Tree is going to have very high damage reduction and very high evasion. It also adds 200 health, which is fantastic overall. And of course, having a 4-piece boss set is going to give you the set bonuses that help with things as well. And then lastly, you have Gaiath. Now, Gaiath is not an impressive piece of gear to me. It has 100 health. Its evasion and its damage reduction is okay. Its claim to fame is that it finishes your boss piece set, your 4-piece boss set, has 100 health, and it has better damage reduction than other things currently in the game. However, ultimately, you know, depending on how you build a heave helmet with its higher evasion and its 2 crystal slots, that a lot of times will outshine a Gaiath and simply is so much cheaper. So don't go crazy stressing over getting a Gaiath. Whenever you're taking your daily boss scrolls, make sure that you're always doing Begs first. And if you haven't started those, it's kill a whole bunch of giants, kill those. And previously, before Xbox came out, I said that you have to kill Beg so many times to get knowledge on it to just take the quest. That's actually not the case in our version of the game. So you can just, after you've done the quest one time, you can just every day take another Beg scroll. So always take those. Do not take Gaiath scrolls. If you got people going for Gaiath, tell them to stop. It's just not that good of a piece of armor and should be your final boss set. And then you got your Red Nose. Now, Red Nose is not best in slot. Dim Tree is best in slot. The differences here, because they have the exact same damage reduction and they have the exact same evasion, the difference is that the Dim Tree has 200 health and Red Nose looks cooler. No, Red Nose has an added 10 health regen, basically, which is so minor. You know, you don't even need it. Now, take it from a guy who uses Pen Red Nose on PC. I have Pen Red Nose, and I like it. It's just not as good as Dim Tree. Just be aware of that. Now, just because it's not as good doesn't mean it's not great, because it really is great. On PC, a Pen Dim Tree is going for 19 billion. A Pen Red Nose is going for 7 billion. There's a 12 billion difference because of 200 health. Now, at that point, if 200 health is making up the difference, you probably died to the guy anyway. Now, health is definitely important. You want your best in slot, but you have to just consider, it's not worth avoiding Red Nose to wait for Dim Tree, because the real key with that piece of armor is its extremely high damage reduction and its extremely high evasion, and Dim Tree and Red Nose are identical. The only difference is that little 200 health buff. So yes, Dim Tree is better, but you want to be completely aware of Red Nose, and it has always been cheaper than its actual worth, in my opinion. We covered a lot. Last thing I want to say is just Dim Armor is something that you can get from questing. It is not Dim Tree Armor, it's actually Dim Armor, and has decent stats. What's nice about it is it basically replaces having something else at around plus 14 or plus 15, and then later on with the further expansion of the game, you can turn it into Roaring Magical Armor, which is essentially the equivalent of Pry Armor stats, or plus 16 if you're unfamiliar with that term. And that particular piece also adds plus 20 accuracy in itself, just that one piece of armor. So you can quest and you can get it that way. Which quest? I don't know, probably your main storyline. I haven't done it. But basically, if you want to go with one of the 3-piece sets, then you could use that and then just save yourself some money. Again, it wouldn't be in the most highly recommended sets, but it's just one of the things that could get you through until you have the equipment necessary to enhance what you need to do. Alright guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of that guide. I definitely worked pretty hard to try to get you guys all the best information, and you could really help me out by telling your friends. That way you don't have to spend all that time explaining it because I already did it for you. So I hope you're looking forward to the accessory guide and the weapon guide. Subscribe to the channel to get those as soon as they're out. I don't have a schedule for it, but I'll do my absolute best. I know it seems like a lot with armor. You're going to have to pick your set, you're going to have to start enhancing it, you're going to have to get it from blue to gold, you're going to have to start attempting to acquire boss gear. How do you enhance that? There's a lot of things, but let me tell you, eventually you'll get to the point where your alts are just storages for all the boss gear you have. So don't worry, it will come in time. Don't panic. And yeah, thank you guys for all that you've done for me. Keep enjoying Black Desert.